You're watching Local 12's first-time home buying seminar, proudly sponsored by Superior Credit Union and Ohio Housing Finance Agency. Thanks to our sponsors.
Welcome to the Local 12 First-Time Home Buying Forum, presented by the Ohio Housing Finance Agency and Superior Credit Union. I'm Ralph Meyer with Local 12, and I'd like to welcome my panel, starting first with John and Tom from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency. Gentlemen, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what the agency does.
Sure. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Hopefully you'll get a lot of great information today. My primary role at the agency is to go throughout the state and help promote our homebuyer programs and down payment assistance that we'll talk about today.
My name's Tom Walker, and I've been with Ohio Housing for 33 years, and I am the Residential Business Development Manager. And what I do is I go around the state and find all the banks, credit unions, and those type of people to participate in our program.
Hi, I'm Brittany Cunningham with Superior Credit Union, and I've been with the credit union for 29 years, and I am the director of the servicing department. So we take care of mortgages that have closed, your escrow, such as your taxes, your homeowner's insurance, your payments, anything that you have after your loan closes. That is my department's responsibility.
Next we have Katie.
Hi, I am Katie Burbacher. I am one of our mortgage loan originators with the credit union. I have been with the credit union for about 16 years now. I've spent my whole tenure there in the mortgage department and have been on the origination side for the past 6.5 years.
And finally, Bill.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bill DiTillo with Superior Plus Realtors. I've been a realtor in the Cincinnati area for about 14 years now, and I've been a sales agent and a broker for Superior Realtors for about 4 years now. So I would be the one who you would call, and we would go around and view houses. So
Appreciate y'all being here with us, and again, welcome. Our first question that we get from most of our viewers, as the home buying process obviously is always a little bit of a scary thing. First question we hear all the time is, where do I start? How do I get started in this?
So for the programs that we're going to tell you about today, your first step is to go to our website, myohiohome.org. So I'll say it again, it's myohiohome.org, and you're going to contact an OFA-approved mortgage lender, and they're going to review your credit, assets, debts, all those types of things, and let you know if you qualify for our homebuyer programs and down payment assistance. And our lenders on the panel today are also OFA-approved lenders. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to stop by their booth afterwards.
Brittany, Katie, anything to add on how do we get started in the loan process? Such a tough thing to go about. How do we get started?
Sure. Whether you start with the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, or if you were to come into the credit union, your first steps are going to be making an application, and we have a few different avenues for you to do that. You are able to apply online. We are able to do a lot of the process electronically, so we can talk over the phone, we can email, things like that. If you're someone that with a busy work schedule, it might be harder to get into the office, or you're just like, I just really don't want to meet with people, and I'm a lot more comfortable doing it this way. We do have then the opposite end of the spectrum where you can set up an appointment and meet with one of our loan originators and sit down face-to-face with them to do a pre-approval application and go over your options there. And then thirdly, it can be done over the phone as well. Like they touched on, when you do a pre-approval, we are collecting your personal information. We're looking at your employment and income. We will look at your assets, so that's what you have saved up in bank accounts, checking or savings, or maybe stock or retirement. And we'll also look at your credit. We take in consideration your credit scores, your credit history, and we look at everything all together to evaluate if you're able to be approved and what program you're approved for and what will be the best fit.
And then, Bill, from your perspective, picking a realtor, obviously, how do we go about that? Is something that everybody takes into consideration as well.
So one thing I would suggest is that you call 3 realtors and you interview all 3, and you have to feel comfortable with your realtor because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. So I bring people into my office. We talk for about 30 minutes. We talk about who your lender is going to be, what you're going to do, what you're looking for, specific home needs. And once you find somebody that you're comfortable with, you can sign on with them, which is kind of something new for the realtor industry now. You have to sign on with the buyer or with the realtor now. It's not like it used to be where you could just call somebody and go out and see. So there's a little bit of a process there, and a good realtor will be willing to hold your hand and walk you through that.
Thanks, all. That's great advice. This next question is specifically for you two gentlemen, for John and Tom. Give me an idea what the Ohio Housing Finance Agency does exactly.
Well, what we actually do, we've been around since 1983. Our mission is to provide an affordable place to call home. And we do that by offering competitive interest rates. We do it by down payment assistance. And we have a network of 151 lenders across the state of Ohio. And I can't tell you how many, I mean, there are hundreds of branches. But one thing you gotta know, we provide the programs to the lenders. We don't take in your apps or anything like that. We just provide the money for them to use. So we always refer you back to them. But we constantly are revising our programs and looking at other ways to help individuals get that additional help, whether it be through, and when they use Ohio Housing, sometimes that takes away some of the fees and additional fees that might be charged depending on the product type that you use.
And then, John, what do you think is the biggest benefit in your mind for using the agency?
So definitely our down payment assistance. So our most popular program is our 5% Your Choice down payment assistance. So this is 5% of the purchase price towards your down payment and closing costs. For example, if you were buying a $250,000 house, 5% of that would be $12,500. So that would be $12,500 towards your down payment and closing costs. And I'll let Tom tell you about our other programs, our Heroes and Grants for Grads program.
A Heroes program that was started back in 2009. And what the Heroes program is for police, fire, teachers, healthcare, and veterans. Now, each of those have specific guidelines around them. For example, firemen, some townships have just volunteer firemen, and we'll do that. And then for healthcare, it's primarily PCAs, STNAs, RNs, LPNs, et cetera. The Heroes loan is our lowest rate that we offer. It's usually somewhere between 1/4 and half below what our normal rate is, and then they can get the 2.5% or 5% down payment as well. Then the additional, or the other program they offer is Grants for Grads. Now, Grants for Grads is for someone that has graduated from an accredited college in the last 48 months, and it has to be 48 months from the graduation date to when you receive that money. That program, what happens with that down payment, you can get 2.5 or 5, but you keep that, or every year, that 20% of the loan is forgiven until 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, it's forgiven. If in that 5 years, let's say in year 3 you bought a house, and in year 3 you used the Grants for Grad and you moved out of the first house and stayed in the state of Ohio, we'll forgive the rest of the loan. And that one has an interest rate of about 1/8 to 1/4 lower than our other program. That program was designed by our state legislators. They gave it to us and said, here, you guys administer it and find the money for it. So this is the program that we have, and it's a very good program.
It's great. That's a great program, and glad to hear you guys are doing something for the first responders. We always love to hear that. Absolutely. So what other specific programs, I guess, are out there for a first-time home buyer, and how do they work?
I would like to, since you got paper and pen, there's a resource out there called downpaymentresource.com. And it's, you go out onto that website and it will show you every down payment assistance program in the country, but you can narrow it down to Ohio, and you can then narrow it down to the county. And it will show you, I know these are names you might not know. There's Addy Dollars, which is usually handled by the city of Cincinnati, I believe, right? And that is called the American Dream Down Payment Initiative. Those are funds out there. Unfortunately, we had the Federal Home Loan Bank that came out with money on March 1st, and it was gone in 3 days, I believe. So, and they were offering $20,000 down payment assistance as a grant. But remember, that comes out every year, so you know it's there. But that resource will show you every down payment assistance, because there's a lot of things, even I think the homebuyer education people might know that we don't know, because we're only looking at it from the state level and not necessarily down to the local level.
As Tom was saying, our down payment assistance, your choice down payment assistance, or the grants or grads, those are 0% second mortgages on the property. And what he was referring to in regards to the grants or grads is that as long as you stay within Ohio for the first 5 years, even if you sold the property or refinance, you would not have to pay that back. And so that's a huge benefit to not have to pay back that down payment assistance. So there are some repayment terms on those down payment assistance, but they usually fall off either after 5 years for the grants or grads or 7 years for our Your Choice down payment assistance. And then there is one other program we did want to mention, and that is our first-time homebuyer mortgage tax credit. And so that provides tax savings over the life of the loan. And we just recommend that when you get pre-approved for your mortgage, you ask your mortgage lender, hey, do I qualify for the first-time buyer mortgage tax credit through the Ohio Housing Finance Agency? And they'll review your income and the purchase price limits and all of our eligibility requirements to see if you qualify for that mortgage tax credit for first-time home buyers.
So let's continue to talk about down payments, because I went through hundreds of questions from our viewers, and that was the number one question, is down payment assistance. And then the other thing they want to know is, what do we need to know about down payments and credit scores? So Katie, Brittany, you guys want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I do want to touch on the down payment assistance. We do have internally at the credit union the Superior First Grant. It is funded by our Superior Foundation for us to invest back into our members and helping with down payment assistance. It does have a bit higher income limit than what other maybe local community grant programs would have, so it can be very beneficial for you. It's $2,000 to go towards your down payment and closing cost. And like they said, we also participate with the Welcome Home Grant. That is one that if you're income eligible for that as well, you typically want to start your pre-approval process in January or early February, because it can go very quick, as they mentioned, with how early the funding went this year. But in regards to down payment, and what was our other piece?
And credit scores, yes.
So we've got two different kind of categories there. They can be connected a little bit. Typically, the credit score is going to be determined by the loan program that you are eligible for. There are times, for conventional financing where we can lend down to a credit score as low as 620. With a score that low, though, you may be required to have a higher down payment, and that could go anywhere from maybe 5, 10, or 15%, if not more. We do have programs, though, on the conventional side that can limit the down payment to 3%. I believe that can carry over with Ohio, the finance agency as well. So, and that's a percentage of what your purchase price is. And then you would have your closing cost and prepaid items on top of that. And your closing costs are the fees that are associated for doing a home loan. And those cover the appraisal fee, title fees, our internal processing and underwriting fee, which aren't too high, prepaid days of interest, recording fees, and then prepaids are your first year of insurance and setting up your escrow for your homeowner's insurance and real estate taxes if they're going to be included in your payment, and that's where Brittany helps out with that if you by chance have changed insurance throughout the year or you were not escrowing to begin with and you want to set that up, that her department can guide you and help out with that piece.
I'd like to add, though, for OFA's programs, we have a minimum credit score of 640 on conventional and 650 on FHA. And as she mentioned, they offer a grant. If you find programs that offer you a grant on a down payment, we do allow those to be layered with ours. Only thing is we have to stay, our second mortgage has to be in second position and lien position. So, but if you find a grant, we'll definitely work with you to layer that on there as well.
Yeah, certainly great information. Appreciate that. Again, that's a big hot button for our viewers, is that down payment assistance. Next, Bill, I'm going to throw this to you. How do we find a knowledgeable realtor? That is a big, big question. We get it all the time.
That's a hard question because you can do your research, Google different realtors. There's plenty of knowledgeable realtors out there. I mean, we go through continuing education courses, so most of us are pretty knowledgeable. But referrals are the best way. Ask around. Ask people, who have you used? Did you like them? And as I said before, you want to interview your realtor, because, somebody could call me and we just don't click. I'm not actually understanding what you're looking for. So you do want to interview some realtors and just go with the one that you feel comfortable with, the one that's going to hold your hand, the one that's going to translate everything that they just said. Because sometimes, they talk shop and some of the words just go over your head, and somebody that can kind of bring it down and actually explain, in layman's terms what's going on, so.
Appreciate that. That's great information. Stay tuned for more panelists on the Local 12 First Time Home Buying Forum. Welcome back to the Local 12 First Time Home Buying Forum. I'd like to welcome 3 new panelists, starting with Dee. Dee, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, my name is Dee Perkins. I'm with Superior Credit Union. I've been a loan officer for 45 years. I look good, don't I, for that?
Congratulations.
And I've done loans my whole career. I've been with Superior Credit Union since we were bought 5 years ago, and I've helped a whole lot of first-time home buyers.
Next up, we have Dan. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Coder. I'm with the Superior Insurance Services. I can't match Dee's record for 45 years, but I've been in the business for 34. I've been with Superior for 10 years, and we are an independent agency owned by Superior Credit Union. And yes, that's right. Thanks for reminding me. We do homeowners insurance and auto, all types of insurance. So that's why I'm here today.
And finally, Chris, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Releg. I'm with Loyalty Title, which is a subsidiary of Superior Credit Union. I've been in title insurance for 32 years and have closed millions of loans and have sat with millions, not millions, of first-time home buyers. I get the fun part. I get the closing day. So when all is said and done, you come to closing, yeah, you sign your life away a little bit, but after that, you're good to go. You get the keys.
Well, thank you. Welcome to our new panelists, and back with us again, John and Tom from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency. We'll start with you guys here. We were talking credit scores before and assistance for first-time home buyers. We get asked this question all the time. What if I don't have the credit score needed to qualify? How do I get that back on track?
So we always recommend that you contact a HUD-approved counseling agency. That's the Department of Housing and Urban Development. That's HUD.gov. Again, that's HUD.gov. And you can find a counseling agency in your area, and they can give you tips on how to improve your credit score. So again, for example, our minimum credit scores were 650 for FHA loans and then 640 for conventional USDA and VA loans. And so if you don't meet those minimum credit scores, they can let you know, okay, here are the steps to take to get your credit score back on track.
Everybody's a little nervous, right, with the current market, right? What insights do you have on the current market, and how will interest rates affect my spending power?
Interest rates, the first loan I ever did was at 14.25, and it was a 1-year adjustable rate. The lowest I've done is 1.99. And I have seen the roller coaster for 45 years. It goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. It's a little unusual right now because rates are a little higher and there's no houses out there to buy. How many of you have looked at 17 houses already? I've heard couples talking out there. You will look at a lot of houses. You will mud wrestle in the front yard for it. You have to remember, though, if you keep waiting for interest rates to come down, the housing prices just keep going up right now. And I think, and I do not have a crystal ball, they're going to settle somewhere maybe in the 5s, and that's where they've been historically. If you averaged out that 1.99 and that 14%, 5 is about where it should, maybe 5.5 hang. But don't let interest rates, you do not marry an interest rate, you marry a house. And so if you can find the house, there's always a chance you can refinance in the future.
John was telling me earlier today, it's date the rate and marry the house.
That's right. That's
You
right.
can always refinance later into a lower rate. So.
But finding a house right now is hard. It's really hard, but you can't get discouraged. And you need to let everybody you know, everybody you've ever met, everybody you run across, know that you're looking to buy a house. Because somebody's brother is going to pass away, or somebody's going to get a divorce, or somebody's sister is being relocated. So it's wear a t-shirt that says, I want to buy a house. And it's good advertising.
So Dan, what about on the insurance side? What do you think? Insights on the current market?
Well, the last couple of years, we've seen a turbulence ride as far as on housing and auto rates. I think hopefully this year we'll see carriers start to level out, kind of back in the days where maybe we just had a single rate increase versus, a double. So I'm hoping the housing market starts to simmer down a little bit as far as when it comes to the insurance companies.
Good deal. Thank you. Good insight. Let's talk a little bit about escrow. Should I do it? How does it work? Is it pluses, minuses? Give us some insight on how escrow works for our viewers.
Well, escrow would also, I guess, be called closing. My job is to ensure that the lender has the first and best lien on the real estate. And so in the process of doing that, I do a title search. We go back 42 years into the chain of title to make sure that there's no outstanding liens, judgments, anything that would affect the lender's ability to have that first lien position on the property. I coordinate, once that's in, once we're clear, once we're ready to go, I will coordinate with the lender, the real estate agents, the buyers, to come to a final closing date and give you a list of items that you need to bring to closing. Funds have to be sent via wire transfer in most cases, anything over $10,000. There's a lot of people that aren't familiar with how to wire funds. I always suggest you go into your bank and you always verify the wire instructions, because there's scammers out there who are changing that would make things look like it's coming from me, but it's not really from me. So just make sure that you're looking over everything. There's not a stupid question in this industry. Just ask questions, because and we'll give you the answers. Just,
Well, thank you for that. The other thing that I hear all the time, and it just says, let's talk PMI, let's talk LTV. What does it all mean? Do I need private mortgage insurance? Do I need it? And if so, when can I cancel it? That's for anyone that would like to take that one.
Take that one. How many of you heard terms today you'd never heard of before? When people say to you escrow and taxes and insurance, and there are so many words in this business that it scares you, because we're just talking to you about how to get into your first home. So your home payment will always be comprised of at least three things. You're going to pay back that mortgage every month just like you would your car. You have to have homeowner's insurance from Dan, which covers you in case your friend has too many beers and puts his car in drive instead of reverse, comes through your garage, right? You need that. You're protecting your asset. And then you have to pay taxes to Hamilton County, Butler County, Warren County, because they want their money too. So those are three different things you have to do. The nice thing with a mortgage is that you can combine them all, so you're making one monthly payment, and they call that PITI. You'll hear PITI, and then you hear PMI. If you put down less than 20%, we're also going to ensure that you don't decide to pick up, get in your car, drive to Mexico, and never pay us again, right? And that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, we've lent out all that money for you to buy your $200,000 house, your $400,000 house, and now we're going, hey, we can't find them in Mexico. That mortgage insurance company then protects our interest and pays us some of the loss we're going to incur. They don't pay off your mortgage, they pay off some of the loss. If you have to have that, that is also part of your payment. So we've got PITI, PMI, OFHA. You've got a whole bunch of, whatever it is. You have a whole bunch of these terms that they're throwing at you. What they're basically saying is these are all the components to your house payment. And it's one payment, and that's it. You write it out every month, and you're done. Don't let all the terminology scare you to death, because it's a lot. And we sit up here, and we've been doing this forever, so we throw around these words the same way you all do at your jobs about the words you all know, right?
And PMI is on a conventional loan, and like she said, if you're putting down less than 20%, you're going to be subjected to PMI. If you do a government loan, they're going to charge you a premium up front. And one thing on the PMI, if you reach an 80% loan to value, that's what it is the value of the loan divided by the, I don't know. They figure out when you get to 80%, then you can drop the PMI. When you do a government loan, it's there for the life of the loan. So Those are things but you can ask and I like what she said. When you're at those closing tables and all that, this is for you. If you don't understand it, you ask that escrow agent or the closing agent, I don't understand, explain that to me.
Appreciate that. And finally, we're going to go with the final question here. Just one quick tip. I want to go all down the line here. Your number one piece of advice in the process for a first-time home buyer.
Just make sure you have the information up front before you start the home buying process. Work with a real estate agent. They'll help you throughout the entire home buying process and explaining all the steps. And make sure you've got these experts that are here, lenders, insurance, have them all together, have that team assembled before you start the home buying process. And your realtor can help you with that too.
I would say patience, because with the market, as Dee said, the market is really tight in Ohio. So you got to be patient on finding that house that fits you. And I like what you said. You got to be on the lookout and look, because you will have those times you're going to get into bidding wars, or you want to be able to look for it. When you feel, when we always recommend that home buyer education, because that creates another relationship in the community that keeps an eye out for you.
Ask questions. Ask questions. Ask questions. There's so much information available out there now that people never had. Look at everything you can find about what it takes to buy a house and what the terms mean, and call somebody smart. Ask a friend. Call a friend.
I would say on the insurance side, I'd say, choose an independent agency that they represent more than one carrier. Let them do the shopping for your house as far as what's going to be the best fit, not only the coverages, but the cost as well. That'd be my advice.
They took all my answers.
Oh, come on. I know you have a good tip down there.
But anyway, I think the process really starts with a good real estate agent, one that is going to spend the time with you and understand your concerns and understand what you're looking for. One that's available anytime that you need to go and see a house. If a house comes on the market tomorrow, hey, can you bring me there? And also that real estate agent's going to have connections to lenders and insurance people and title companies, et cetera. They're going to have their own little group of preferred vendors as well. So just like Dee said, ask questions and make sure you do your research.
Well, appreciate it. I want to take the time to thank all of our panelists on today's show, and to our viewers for watching. Again, I'm Ralph Meyer with Local 12. Thanks for watching Local 12's First Time Home Buying Forum.
Thank you for watching Local 12's First Time Home Buying Seminar, proudly sponsored by Superior Credit Union and Ohio Housing Finance Agency. Thanks to our sponsors.